Welcome to the Week 1 recap of the 2025 college football season. In this week's video, we will go through every team ranked in the Week 2 AP poll and go through how they fared during Week 1. This is College Football Central, and don't forget to subscribe.
One team, one heartbeat. Best out of football. LSU Titans go to war. 1, 2, 3.
Fresh off a dominant 43-10 road win over UCLA, Utah catapulted into the AP Top 25 at the number 25 spot. The victory featured standout contributions from several two-way players, including Smith Snowden and Lander Barton, who both scored touchdowns on offense as well. Head coach Kyle Whittingham and the Utes will look to keep the momentum rolling as they host Cal Poly next Saturday. The number 24 ranked Texas Tech Raiders dominated Arkansas Pine Bluff with a 67-7 victory. The Red Raiders amassed 608 total yards, including 294 rushing yards. Quarterback Behren Morton led the offense, completing 16 of 18 passes for 201 yards and 4 touchdowns. Defensively, the Red Raiders limited Arkansas Pine Bluff to 175 total yards and forced 1 turnover. The defense's strong performance complemented the high-powered offense, contributing to the team's largest margin of victory since 2018. Looking ahead, Texas Tech will face Kent State in their next game at home. The Indiana Hoosiers secured a 27-14 victory over Old Dominion at home over the weekend. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza completed 18 of 31 passes for 193 yards, while the Hoosiers' ground game amassed 309 rushing yards, led by Roman Hemby and Kalen Black. Defensively, Indiana allowed 2 long touchdowns, a 75-yard run on the game's first play and a 78-yarder later, but otherwise limited the Monarchs to just 161 total yards. The Hoosiers forced 3 turnovers, including interceptions by Amari Farrell, Luis Moore, and D'Angelo Pons. Head coach Kirk Cignetti expressed concerns over red zone inefficiencies and missed opportunities, noting that the team failed to convert several trips inside the 10-yard line into touchdowns. This dropped the Hoosiers 3 spots as number 23 Indiana will face Kennesaw State in their next game, aiming to build on their opening win and address the areas of concern. The number 22 ranked Tennessee Volunteers secured a 45-26 victory over Syracuse. Quarterback Joey Aguilar, making his debut, completed 16 of 28 passes for 247 yards and 3 touchdowns. The running back trio of Deshaun Bishop, Star Thomas, and Peyton Lewis collectively contributed 212 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, effectively filling the void left by the departed Dylan Sampson. Defensively, Tennessee limited Syracuse to 226 total yards and forced 2 turnovers, maintaining control throughout the game. Looking ahead, Tennessee will face East Tennessee State in their home opener. Alabama opened the 2025 season with a 31-17 loss to Florida State. This marked Alabama's first season-opening loss since 2001. Quarterback Ty Simpson completed 23 of 43 passes for 254 yards as he struggled under pressure throughout the game. Second-year head coach Kalen DeBoer faced criticism for the uninspired performance, especially on the offensive line and defense, and the loss dropped the Crimson Tide to the number 21 spot in the latest polls. The Crimson Tide look to bounce back next week as they take on Louisiana Monroe. In their 2025 season opener, the number 20 ranked Ole Miss Rebels delivered a commanding 63-7 victory over Georgia State. Quarterback Austin Simmons, in his first career start, completed 20 of 31 passes for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns, though he did throw 2 interceptions. The Rebels' offense amassed almost 700 yards of total offense, with wide receiver Harrison Wallace III leading the receiving corps with 130 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, Ole Miss held Georgia State to just 260 total yards, led by standout performances by linebacker TJ Daugherty and defensive lineman Xavier Harris. Looking ahead, Ole Miss will face Kentucky on the road in their first SEC matchup of the season. The Texas A&M Aggies kicked off their 2025 season with a 42-24 victory over UTSA. Quarterback Marcel Reed threw for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns, and transfer wide receiver Mario Carver accounted for 8 receptions, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns. KC Conception also had 152 all-purpose yards on the day, including a punt return for a touchdown. The Aggie defense did look vulnerable as they let up over 400 yards of offense to a much weaker opponent. The Aggies prepare to host Utah State next week. The number 18 ranked Oklahoma Sooners kicked off their 2025 season with a commanding 35-3 victory over Illinois State. In his debut, transfer quarterback John Matier dazzled with 392 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, simultaneously setting a new school record for passing yards in an Oklahoma debut. Keontez Lewis, another transfer, emerged as a dangerous weapon with 9 grabs for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns, while converted linebacker Jaron Kanek impressed at tight end, hauling in 5 catches for 90 yards. Oklahoma's defense was incredible, allowing just 151 yards, including only 34 passing yards. Up next, the Sooners will host number 15 Michigan in a highly anticipated matchup with College Game Day coming to town. SMU opened the 2025 season with a dominant 42-13 win over East Texas A&M. Quarterback Kevin Jennings threw for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns. Romello Brinson led receivers with 7 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown. The Mustangs' defense made a big impact, returning 2 interceptions for touchdowns. The team as a whole did look a little sloppy as they committed close to 100 yards in penalties, while also losing 2 key players to injury in linebacker Alex Kilgore and receiver Jordan Hudson. The number 17 ranked Mustangs look to clean things up as they take on in-state opponent Baylor at home next weekend. Iowa State defeated South Dakota 55-7 at home, moving the Cyclones to 2-0 on the season. Quarterback Rocco Becht delivered a record-breaking performance, completing 19 of 20 passes for 278 yards and 3 touchdowns, setting a school record with a 95% completion rate. The Cyclones' rushing attack was led by Dylan Lee, who gained 81 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Kicker Kyle Conrarty set a school record with a 63-yard field goal as time expired in the first half, the second longest in Big 12 history. Defensively, Iowa State limited South Dakota to 209 total yards and forced 2 turnovers. The Cyclones moved up 6 spots to the number 16 ranking as they prepare to host in-state rival Iowa in the annual Cy-Hawk game. Michigan opened their season with a 34-17 victory over New Mexico at home this weekend. The Wolverines outgained New Mexico 452 to 276 total yards, controlling the momentum throughout the game. Quarterback Bryce Underwood, a freshman, completed 21 of 31 passes for 251 yards and a touchdown, setting the school record for most passing yards in a debut by a freshman. Running back Justice Haynes, a transfer from Alabama, led the rushing attack with 16 carries for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 56-yard sprint to open the scoring. The defense forced 4 turnovers, including key interceptions by Cole Sullivan and Brandon Hillman, plus 9 tackles and 3 sacks. The number 15 ranked Wolverines will travel to face Oklahoma in a top 25 matchup next weekend. Florida State opened their season with the upset of the week, defeating the then number 8 ranked Alabama at home 31-17. Quarterback Tommy Castellanos led the way with 152 passing yards and 78 rushing yards. The Noles defense limited the Crimson Tide to just 87 total rushing yards, marking their fewest in a season opener since 1975. They also accounted for 3 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. The Seminoles look to build on this early season upset as they take on East Texas A&M at home next week. Florida dominated against Long Island University, winning by a score of 55-0 over the weekend. The Gators looked like a complete team throughout the entire game, as their defense held the Sharks to just 86 total yards and forced 4 turnovers. Sophomore quarterback DJ Lagway looked the part, as the Heisman hopeful completed 15 of 18 passes with 3 touchdowns. Running back Jaden Bow also looked great, rushing for 109 yards and a touchdown. This was enough to move them up to the number 13 spot in the country. Head coach Billy Napier looks to continue on this early season dominance as they take on South Florida at home next week. ASU secured a 38-19 victory over Northern Arizona, overcoming early miscues to dominate the second half. Quarterback Sam Levitt completed 25 of 39 passes for 257 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding another 73 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Biletnikoff hopeful wide receiver Jordan Tyson caught 12 passes for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns, and running back Kyson Brown rushed for 73 yards on 7 carries. The Sun Devils dropped 1 spot to the number 12th ranked team, as they will look to clean up some sloppy play, including 12 penalties for 93 yards, as they take on a much harder opponent in Mississippi State next weekend. Illinois rolled to a commanding 52-3 victory in their 2025 season opener. Quarterback Luke Altmaier was sharp, going 17 for 21 for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns, and running back Aiden Lowry was great on the ground with 101 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Hank Beatty was electric, catching 5 passes for 108 yards, then exploding on a 69-yard punt return touchdown, setting an Illinois single-game record with 133 punt return yards, earning him Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week. On defense, Gabe Jacas made his presence felt with 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Illinois leaped to the number 11 spot in the Week 2 AP poll, their highest ranking since 2001, as the Fighting Illini will head east to face Duke next weekend in their first test of the season. South Carolina defeated Virginia Tech 24-11 in the Aflac kickoff game played in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Quarterback Lenore Sellers delivered a dual-threat performance, rushing for a 15-yard touchdown and connecting on a 64-yard passing touchdown to wide receiver Nick Harbor, who finished with 3 receptions for 99 yards. Vickery Swain returned a punt 80 yards for a touchdown, breaking the game open in the fourth quarter. South Carolina's defense made key plays with 2 timely interceptions, including one in the red zone, helping seal the win. This win propelled the Gamecocks to the number 10 spot in the latest rankings, as they will return home to host South Carolina State. Notre Dame suffered a narrow 27-24 loss to the Miami Hurricanes in a gritty season opener. Defensively, Notre Dame impressed as they had constant pressure on the Canes all game. Offensively, the O-line struggled against Miami's front, and star running back Jeremiah Love was underutilized, logging just 4 carries deep into the third quarter. Freshman quarterback C.J. Carr made his first career start and showed flashes of promise, but he and the rest of the Fighting Irish offense will have to figure things out during their bye week, as they will prepare to take on the Texas A&M Aggies at home in 2 weeks, after dropping to the number 9 spot in the latest poll. Clemson fell to LSU by a narrow 17-10 margin in a hard-fought opener. Clemson generated just 261 total yards with a struggling run game, rushing for only 31 yards on 20 carries. Quarterback Cade Klubnik finished 19 of 38 for 230 yards, as he did not look the part as one of the preseason Heisman candidates. After Clemson led at halftime, LSU rallied in the second half, including a key interception leading to the go-ahead score. Clemson's final drive ended with a failed 4th down attempt inside their red zone, sealing the upset loss. Still, the Tigers showed fight and potential, especially on defense, but the offensive woes proved too much to overcome in a tough home opener loss as the Tigers dropped to the number 8 spot in the country. Clemson hosts Troy on September 6th, a prime opportunity to bounce back and find rhythm heading into ACC play. Texas lost on the road to Ohio State 14-7 in a disappointing start to the season. Quarterback Arch Manning went 17 of 30 for 170 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Texas failed to capitalize on red zone opportunities, being held scoreless twice inside the 10-yard line. The defense was strong overall, holding Ohio State to just 203 total yards and keeping the game within reach, but it was not enough to overcome the offensive woes. The Longhorns dropped to the number 7 spot for the next game against San Jose State, as Coach Sarkisian has framed this matchup as an opportunity for the team to regain its stride. The Oregon Ducks powered through a dominant season opener, beating Montana State 59-13 in a blowout victory. Quarterback Dante Moore was sharp in his first start, going 18 of 23 for 213 yards and 3 touchdowns, while running back Noah Whittington led the ground charge with 10 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. The defense forced multiple 3-and-outs, and defensive end Mateo Uiagalelei registered 2 sacks. The convincing win helped Oregon climb from the number 7 to the number 6 spot in the Week 2 AP poll, as the Ducks prepare to take on Oklahoma State next weekend at home. Miami secured a thrilling 27-24 victory against Notre Dame at home. The Hurricanes overcame a halftime deficit, showcasing resilience and strategic adjustments in the second half. Transfer quarterback Carson Beck proved to be a serviceable replacement for the number 1 overall pick Cam Ward, as he threw for 205 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. The Canes' defense looked great as well, forcing 2 crucial turnovers that ended up making the difference in the game, as the win propelled the Canes up 5 spots to the number 5 ranking in the latest polls. Miami will host Bethune-Cookman at home next weekend. Georgia dominated Marshall with a commanding 45-7 win in their home season opener at Sanford Stadium. The Bulldogs racked up 488 total yards as quarterback Gunnar Stockton starred in his first home start, finishing 14 of 24 for 190 passing yards and accounting for 4 touchdowns, 2 passing and 2 rushing. He also logged 10 rushes for 73 yards. Zachariah Brandt, the transfer from USC, hauled in 3 catches for 95 yards, including a 47-yard touchdown. The defense held Marshall to just 207 total yards and converted only 3 of 15 third downs. The win extended Georgia's home win streak to 32 consecutive games, the longest in college football. And this moved the Bulldogs up to the number 4 spot in the country, as they look to continue their dominance at home against Austin Peay next weekend. The LSU Tigers were able to pull off the win 17-10 versus Clemson, as they trailed 10-3 at halftime but rallied in the second half with 14 unanswered points. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier threw a decisive 8-yard touchdown pass to freshman tight end Trey'Dez Green in the fourth quarter, as he ended up completing 28 of his 38 passes for 230 yards and a touchdown. Running back Caden Durham contributed with 74 rushing yards and a touchdown, while wide receiver Aaron Anderson led with 6 receptions for 99 yards. This victory marks LSU's first season-opening win since 2019, as LSU jumps to the number 3 spot in the country, as they will host Louisiana Tech at home next weekend, looking to build on their momentum. Penn State dominated Nevada 46-11, a statement win to kick off the 2025 season. Their defense led the way, forcing multiple turnovers early and constant pressure, leading to 3 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, which ended up being the key for the Nittany Lions. Quarterback Drew Aller was sharp, completing 22 of 26 passes for 217 yards and a touchdown, as running backs Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen contributed early rushing touchdowns as well. The number 2 ranked Nittany Lions will host Florida International University as they look to build on their early success before they begin Big Ten action in Week 4. The Ohio State Buckeyes handed preseason number 1 Texas a 14-7 loss. The Buckeyes' defense dominated, as they held the Longhorns to just 7 points with multiple key red zone stops. Although their offense looked questionable with freshman quarterback Julian Sayin, the Buckeyes have time to figure it out. This win vaulted the Buckeyes to the number 1 spot in the AP Top 25, marking their first time leading the regular season rankings since 2015. They return home to face Grambling State next weekend, an ideal tune-up before conference play begins to start. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to tune in next week as we go through how every team performed in Week 2. And don't forget to subscribe.